Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154, where we are following FlamingBurito of the Lime Clan in the premium tier 8 German tank destroyer Skorpion. Now this isn't Skorpion G, this is the unskinned version, but is fundamentally identical. Of course it is characterized by its big 12.8 centimeter gun. It drops these 490 hit point alpha bombs, which is fantastic for tier, but the penetration is truly fantastic. The standard AP penetrates for 245 millimeters, but if that's not enough, you can change up to the APCR for 311 millimeters. Now it's probably just as well that FlamingBurito has that sort of penetration available to them, because they are bottom tiered 8s under 10s. Now initial positioning has attempted to provide some coverage to the mid, which has been scouted out by the enemy LTTB. We can see the friendly HWK-30 is also scouting the mid, so that's probably providing the eyes on the tier 8 Russian light tank here. Certainly a considerable deficit being able to be applied to the hit points of that vehicle here. Now that could have been a killing shot there were it not for missing the first shot, but one thing you do need to be aware of with Skorpion and Skorpion G is despite the 2-second-ish aim time, they actually have really terrible dynamic gun handling. That's the dispersion and bloom that you get from moving the gun, moving the hull, or when you can be patient with your shots, you can have fantastic effect on target, like in that Type 61. Now looking to the 8-0 line, it looks like an enemy Super Conqueror has played rather aggressively and pushed in, and they've actually managed to light up the Renegade for the enemy team, and back to the garage it goes, having suffered a bit of a tracking injury trying to crest that ridge. Super Conqueror, however, is copping both elements of the magazine from TNH VZ51, and while it tries to bring its gun online, it is ultimately CS52 Lease that's prowling around behind this rock that's looking for its opportunity. Now there's a little bit of hesitation, it is conscious of how many enemy guns are downrange, but it does have the opportunity to kill a tent from tier 8, so it's going to go for it. Has eaten a bit of a bag of dicks there and ended up in quite a low hit point position, but has managed to claim the tier 10 scalp. HWK-30 continues to spot the mid, but is brought low by the 122 TM in a bit of a pop and snot. Now, unfortunately, the targeting window not quite big enough there for FlamingBurito to get some return damage on the Chinese medium tank. And now the enemy team seems to have control of the mid. 122 TM, obviously where it was. LTTB is actually pushed up towards the H4 position, so that could be a little bit problematic for some of the friendly vehicles that are trying to defend that corner. But fortunately, FlamingBurito is able to bring an end to its tour of duty and claims his first kill of the game. Things not going so well for the friendly CS52 Lease, who brought the Super Conqueror down earlier. They have just had not too many hit points left in the tank and have been knocked out accordingly. The enemy IS-32 is making its move down the 8-0 line. There seems to be a bit of a trend for enemy heavy tanks charging this position down. It has suffered a tracking injury along the way, but it has been repaired and it's ready to come full frontal with friendly TNH VZ51. Of course, it's only got a handful of hit points left. The RAM is not sufficient to knock it out, but quick follow-up with the gun sends it back to the garage. Of course, we're once again proving here that heavy tanks are the best scout, and Progetto 66 also goes down thanks to the eyes provided by that IS-32 leading the charge. And charge the enemy vehicles do. It's not just the IS-32 that is W-keying their way forward. And it's only Skoda T56 that's left here as the forward defense. There's a couple of tank destroyers and medium tanks on the back line on the hill, but at the moment it's just Skoda T56 weathering the storm. Now they get a shot off into Type 61. They're tracking it, looking for the second follow-up shot, but there's just way too many red tanks coming around that corner. A few too many for FlamingBurito's liking as well, and they retreat to the back line, ready to take full advantage of the accuracy of this gun. Remembering its base dispersion is 0.29 meters per 100 meters, and that's before you add any crew skills or equipment into the mix. Of course, he's not the only one that's come up with this idea. STB1, Stridsvagn S1 and Shah Future 4 also pulling back, and that's just leaving the Leopard Prototype A in the front line, and hopefully something that's going to provide that forward spot while the tank destroyers can fire from the protection of both distance and cover, with FlamingBurito using a high explosive shell to improve the density of that cover, knocking down a tree. Patient aiming while waiting for the reload has borne fruit, with them able to knock out Progetto 66 for kill number 2. Now we're looking for a weak spot on the enemy T110E4, but not liking our chances. We have been able to spot the enemy Stridsvagn 103, however, and that's a target that you don't get too many shots at, so you might as well put a shot into it while it's visible. STB-1 playing from the midline as well, fighting from hull down to knock out the enemy IS-32. FlamingBurito returns gun sights on T110E4 and manages a penetrating shot with a standard round. Remember, that's got 248mm of penetration, and he's shooting at the turret of a Tier 10 vehicle. Type 61 crossing in the open, and that is knocked out for kill number 3 for FlamingBurito. Thus is the fate of enemies that fall under the gun sight. But unfortunately, the fun of the shooting gallery had to stop somewhere, and the enemy is now somewhat reorganized itself. Now, bearing in mind that all 3 of the enemy Tier 10s are on this flank, and Stridsvagn S1 finds itself spotted and snotted accordingly. There's a bit of gunfire coming from the AMBT that's now revealed its position, and also revealed the fact that this fight is now a 5 versus 4. Leopard PTA looks for side shots on AMBT, but again spots Stridsvagn 103B and manages to knock out the Tier 10 enemy tank destroyer. Fires from other enemy vehicles present further opportunities for FlamingBurito as they zero in on AMX-30, that's a Tier 9 French collector's vehicle. Sharp Future 4, however, ends up collecting the kill. Now, that appears to have blunted the enemy push at this point in time, but it wasn't the only push going on. FlamingBurito's team had one of their own, and this was led by beylily, who was kind enough to send in their version of events. They're here operating the Tier 10 German heavy tank Mars, facing down the enemy defender, and I guess aware that all the enemy Tier 10s are over on the other flank, whereas all 3 of FlamingBurito's Tier 10s are over here, including T110E4 and FV4005. Solid angling forces the enemy defender to take a much wider angle to try to penetrate Mars, but it ends up being brought low by T110E4. beylily continues their push with another shot into GSAW 1008, and they look to be making a bit of an escape. And who could blame them, really? That is a horrendous amount of armor and hit points that are bearing down upon them from 2 tiers above. beylily makes their way through the canyon. They are trying to track their gun onto this GSAW 1008, but it looks like it's hit the low ground. 122 TM that had knocked out HWK-30 earlier also spotted on this flank, and Stridsvagn S1 making an appearance from the rail tracks. beylily turns, angles and fires, taking a decent whack of hit points off. But it's FV4005 Stage 2 that provides the ultimate rounding error. So that's 2 vehicles that we're aware of on this flank between GSAW 1008 and 122 TM. beylily continues to press the attack accordingly, supported by STA-1 that knocks out GSAW 1008. The angled armor of Mars appears to be proving effective against shots from 122 TM, and unfortunately for them, that leaves them with a 12 to 14 second reload before they can follow up. So, of course, in that situation, the appropriate thing to do is keep on pushing. Now, the friendly T110E4 has elected to take a slightly wider angle, and I guess that was with the view that they might be able to outflank 122 TM. It's tried to be really smart here and actually fall back first. It does manage to get a shot off into T110E4, however, before ducking down to the other side of the railway tracks. This does put T110E4 in a bit of a dangerous position. Now, there are 5 enemy tanks left in the game, and their positions are not completely accounted for. We're not quite sure whether they're trying to push up against the defensive line, but as we can see, the enemy Progetto 65 at least is still very much in the fight, fallen back to its corner to offer a solid base of fire. So as you can imagine, seeing those enemy vehicles back in their cap circle, that's indicative that FlamingBurito and company need to switch from the defense to the attack. Now, FlamingBurito's gone full bore in there, but Sharp Future 4 is hanging back a little bit. Now, it's lining up on the enemy AMBAT and ends up knocking it out, and that clears the way for FlamingBurito as they get closer towards the enemy positions. They are zeroing in on the 122 TM, and that is a nice hit into the side of the turret. We're hoping for some follow-up shots here because it is retreating towards the bushes and may end up falling out of line of sight of FlamingBurito, but the second shot is forthcoming. That's going to leave 122 TM on a one-shottable position for pretty much anything on the team. Unfortunately, it has gone dark by now, so we'll just do blind fire into the bush for good measure, but that doesn't come off, unfortunately. But it does fall under the sights of FV4005, who sends it back to the garage for probably one of the worst ratios of shell potential damage to rounding error that we've seen in a little while. Now we can see FlamingBurito has managed to get a cheeky cross shot into Progetto 65 as it's fallen back. We're hoping to replicate that with T110E4, but unfortunately the dynamic dispersion of the 12.8cm Skorpion gun letting us down a little bit there. So instead we'll try to hunt down the enemy Skoda T56 at its last known position, and as luck would have it, it is still there. Now we're aiming very very carefully, trying to get that Penable Cupola shot, but take a hit from Progetto 65. We turn and face, and Progetto 65 puts its last remaining shot into STB1, but a quick follow-up from FlamingBurito sends it back to the garage. He was quite lucky to get that side shot into it earlier, because that had put Progetto 65 in a one-shottable position and ultimately allowed him to claim kill number 4. Now, is he going to get kill number 5 on Skoda T56? Yes, he does. That is knocked out, and it's just T110E4 left in the game. And he cops a tremendous hit from the Tier 10 American tank destroyer. It's knocked out his turret, so if he wants a Top Gun, he's going to have to aim, fire, and penetrate just using the hull. Let's see how he goes down the ditch, and boom! There it is. Top Gun just with aiming the hull. What an exciting twist on in finishing that battle. Let's take a look at the results. So that is an Ace Mastery badge for FlamingBurito of the Lime Clan in the premium Tier 8 German tank destroyer, Rheinmetall Skorpion. Again, not Scorpion G, that's a different tank, but it's skinned, whereas this one is supplied unskinned. We've got a few Epic and Battle Heroes medals here. We've got High Caliber for accounting for at least 20% of the total hit point pool of enemy vehicles, and the depth of that hit point pool somewhat aided by the fact that they were facing 9s and 10s as well, with nearly 5,800 hit points of damage inflicted on the enemy team. A truly epic result here. He's come away with the Top Gun medal and did that by a bit of a nose in that photo finish with 6 kills taken on the enemy team. There's a bit of a rare medal here as well, Halonen's medal. Now for that, you have to destroy at least 2 enemy tanks or tank destroyers. You have to be in a tank destroyer, and your victims both have to be at least 2 tiers higher than you. So that's from the kills on the T110E4 and the Progetto 65. He's also picked up the Bruiser medal here for causing damage to enemy vehicle modules or crew members at least 5 times in the course of the battle, and he's also got the Duelist medal for destroying at least 2 enemy vehicles that have caused damage to them in turn. Again, we're looking at Progetto 65 and T110E4 in particular. Looking to the team scores, is placed atop by experience, but closely followed by the Leopard prototype. Had quite a good game themselves, 2,945 damage inflicted, but it was their hanging back as FlamingBurito and company had departed that had really given their experience point position a nudge that game, with nearly 4,900 hit points of assist damage from this battle. Special mention on the enemy team to the Progetto 65. They've caused over 4,000 hit points of damage. They've claimed 4 kills, but not carrying quite hard enough today. Also, 122 TM did not do too badly either, placing second by experience from bottom tiered. Looking to the detailed report, this game was quite the earner for FlamingBurito, coming away with over 70,000 credits. That wasn't assisted by any mission completions or boosters as well, so granted there was a bit of a consumables bill and we did have to dive into the premium ammunition, but otherwise this vehicle was playing very efficiently indeed. So naturally a very pleasing result for FlamingBurito, both on the results page and in the hip pocket. And if you've got a replay that you'd like to see featured on World of Tanks with PR154, we are currently showcasing them every Saturday on our Twitch channel. And if you're around, we'll even get you in to talk about what was going through your mind and down your barrel during that battle, if you're able to join us there. So if you want to submit your replay, do swing by our Discord at the link below. There's a little write-only sub-channel called the Submission Platform. If you go in there, you can't see anything. But I'm kind of like Heimdall in that I see everything, and so I can keep it a bit of a surprise what we're going to feature on the channel, generally picking some of the tightest and most exciting replays that get submitted. In the meantime, thanks for watching, happy tanking, and take care out there.